What's up everyone, it's Zach Lesage here from Rare Candy, and we're here doing another video as part of my series of what cards are good in our post-rotation format. So today we're going to be looking over cards that add damage to our opponent's Pokemon, or as I like to call them, the damage modifiers of our format. So if you look at this list, you might have seen a couple of these cards before, or maybe you haven't. Anyways, the goal of the video today is to explain why some of these cards might see a play in our upcoming post-rotation format. For those of you who do not know, Pokemon.com released an article stating that our 2020 format starting mid-August, going right into Worlds and the Washington Open, are going to include a rotation of cards. So we're rotating cards from Sun and Moon all the way up until I believe Crimson Invasion. So our new format's going to be Ultra Prism on... Right now we're looking over Ultra Prism and Unbroken Bonds cards all the way between those sets. So I don't want to waste too much of your time. Let's jump into it, get some popcorn, get some snacks, and let's see what cards add some damage in this format. Starting right off here, we have Altaria. So right here I have the alternate art promo, but it does come from the Dragon Majesty set. Your Dragon Pokemon's attack do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you have a Dragon deck and you're looking to hit some higher damage caps, we have Altaria here that can add 20 more damage. Now this ability is stackable, so if you have multiple Altaria out, you can do extra damage in multiples of 20. So if you have two Altarias out, you'll do 40 extra damage, etc, etc. So determine if your Dragon deck needs to do a little bit more damage, and if you can afford the cost of adding Altaria into your deck, this might be the correct fit for you. Next card on our list is Diancie Prism Star. So as long as this Pokemon's on your bench, your fighting type Pokemons do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now it should be noted that this card is a Prism Star card, so you're only limited to the one Diancie Prism Star to your deck. But if you are playing a fighting deck, this card is usually a staple to do that extra little bit of damage depending on which Pokemon you want to knock out in this format. With Pikachu Zekrom GX being a huge threat coming out after the Unified Mindset drops, that deck is weak to fighting type Pokemon, and I fully expect that we'll see a few Diancie Prism Star coming at Worlds. Vileplume. So this is a little bit of a weird inclusion because it doesn't necessarily add damage, but if you flip a coin and you get heads, you can make your opponent's active Pokemon burned or poisoned, and those would actually add damage. So if you already run Gloom in your deck, or you're running a Vileplume deck or a grass-based deck, anything with the new Alolan Exeggutor GX coming out, you could quickly get out this Vileplume and kind of do some extra damage to your opponent's Pokemon. And if you don't want to do extra damage, you also have that you can make them asleep or confused on a coin flip. This card could be pretty cool, especially since Poison adds 10, Burned adds 20. It could be a great way to knock out some Pokemon in an unexpected way. I know a lot of players have not necessarily thought of this card, and that's why I decided to include it in here. Next up on this list, I was hesitant to add this card to the list at first because it's not really a way to add damage counters normally, but you want to know what? Maybe in your Psychic type based deck, maybe a Malamar deck, Ultra Necrozma Malamar Spell Tag, which Spell Tag is also included on this list. Giratina does add damage to their bench Pokemon, so maybe building a deck around Giratina, or Giratina as an attacker, or using a Distortion Door as a way to add damage, could be a great way to hit some of those numbers, especially in a deck where you need to discard cards anyways, or you need more Pokemon on your bench. We've seen Giratina have a lot of success in this past season, and I assume we'll see some more success going on in the future. Next up on this list, an often forgotten card, Banette Gx. So once with Shady Move, you can do once during your turn, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may move one damage counter from one Pokemon to another Pokemon. So whether it's from your opponent's side to your opponent's side, or your opponent's side to your side, or your side to your opponent's side, however it works, Banette Gx is a great way to move damage counters around and potentially add extra damage to our opponent's Pokemon to get a knockout. It has a few pretty cool attacks as well, so I assume that we might see this card have some success in the next format, maybe as an attacker or using Tomb Hunt, but let's not forget about Shady Move, as it's one of the only few ways to add damage counters to our opponent's Pokemon in this format. Jumping into the trainer section of this, we have Electro Power. So it's actually a super strong card that's seen a lot of success in Zapdos decks, Pikachu Zekrom GX decks. Once during your turn, you can play this down and your Lightning type Pokemon's attack do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And I want to let you know that this card stacks, so if you play 2 Electro Powers, you're going to be doing 60, 3, you're going to be doing 90, and 4, you're going to be doing 120. So depending on what type of numbers you want to hit, Electro Power can definitely help you get there. It's really searchable by a lot of cards, such as Red's Challenge, Volkner, a few other cards. Electro Power is a great way to power up a Lightning-type Pokemon's attacks. Next up on this list is a lesser used card, and it's probably due because it's been plagued by bugs on the PTCGO app, but in real life, this card is playable. So the attacks of your non-Ultra Beast Pokemon that have any basic fighting energy attached to them do 10 more damage. If you're behind on prize cards, you do an extra 40 damage. So this doesn't need to be attached to a fighting Pokemon. That Pokemon just needs to have a basic fighting energy. It could be a stage 1 Pokemon, it could be a GX Pokemon, it could be a stage 2 Pokemon. You get the idea. It could be any Pokemon as long as it's in non-Ultra Beast. So no Buzzwole synergy here, but you could attach this to a Pokemon and even kind of benefit from other things as long as you have a basic fighting energy attached to it. So doing an extra 10 or even extra 40 if you're running a little bit behind can be absolutely game altering, and I'm sure this card will see success at some point in the future. Now, this is a card I'm sure a lot of people have seen in play, or at least dread to see played against them. This attack puts 1 damage counter on each Pokemon GX and EX in between turns, and it's a great way to kind of hate on those GX Pokemon, kind of punish them for being super powerful, and it can start whittling Pokemon like Reshiram Charizard GX from 270 HP gradually down until they're more of an obtainable range to knock them out. Shrine of Punishments, you can play it in GX decks, but I fully recommend that you run it in single kind of prize card attackers, non-GX Pokemon decks to do some extra damage. Be careful if you have cards like Dedenne GX in your deck because they will get damaged as well, and you might be helping your opponent knock out your own Pokemon. This card is typically seen play in kind of spread decks, such as Weezing or Tapu Koko that we had in our past format, but I've actually used cards like this in decks like Reshiram Charizard GX, kind of boost my own damage going forward, especially since that Pokemon has Outrage. So this is a great way to do damage counters to GX Pokemon in general, but more specifically, we like damaging our opponent's GX Pokemon in this format. Next up, a new card that we got from our Unbroken Bond set, Kogas Trap. So you can play it down as your supporter, and you make your opponent's active Pokemon confused and poisoned. The poison's going to do the extra 10 damage, so maybe you're 10 damage away, or their active Pokemon's going to stay in that position for a while. You can hit them on the rebound with their poison damage at the end of their turn. This card can add an endless amount of damage, especially if the Pokemon stays in the active position, but realistically, we're using it to do an extra 10 damage, or potentially draw our opponent back by confusing their Pokemon. Kogas Trap has already seen a success in a few Zoroark GX decks, because it's really searchable out from Persian GX, but we don't know how it's going to be played in our new format. Maybe there's going to be a few decks that are just 10 damage away, and Kogas Trap is a great way to grab it. In our new format, we have Pokegear 3.0. That's a great way to grab those kind of supporter cards, especially if you're playing a lesser amount, or using Red's Challenge a turn before, or Steven's Advice, or even using Macargo. So there's plenty of ways to search out Kogas Trap in this new format. You got to be a little bit inventive, but that's what Pokemon deck building's all about. So maybe we'll see Koga busting in and trapping our opponent's Pokemon coming up in our next post-rotation metagame. Hustle Belt. So we first saw this card seeing kind of success in Spiritomb decks towards the end of the format because Spiritomb was released in Unbroken Bonds. This is a card that was lesser played from Celestial Storm, but it's if the Pokemon this card attached to has 30 HP or less, which is kind of like hanging on by a thread there, you do an extra 60 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So I've been using this in my Spiritomb deck, which adds damage counters to itself, and in combination with Rainbow Energy, you can actually build up to a sizable amount of damage really quickly, and Hustle Belt can help hit some obtainable numbers, especially in a format that's dominated by these huge tag team GX Pokemon with upwards of 300 HP, but most notably 240 to 270 HP range. So I don't specifically know if it's going to see much play outside of Spiritomb decks, but we'll see if Pokemon if they can accept some damage and get down to that 30 HP threshold. This card can actually bust in there and do 60 extra damage, which is huge. The sky's the limit with this one. And on this list here, we got Spell Tag. So it has to be attached to a Psychic Pokemon that's knocked out by damage, but when you do, you put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way you like. So I've actually been playing in the post-rotation metagame between Ultra Prism cards all the way up to Unified Minds, and this card's absolutely a beast because we do lose Field Blower in the rotation, and the only sizable ways that I can think of to get rid of this card right now are Lysander Labs and Faba. Those are two of the best ways to get rid of this card, and they're not really that efficient at getting rid of this card at all. Spell Tag in combination with other cards such as Shrine of Punishment and Giratina could be a huge concept going into the World Championships. So if you're not prepared for it, prepare for it. If you're looking for an early concept of that format, I think this is really where it's at, and it seems like it's one of the tier 1 decks that's available in the metagame. So Spell Tag seems like it's going to be an integral part of our metagame. Make sure you're prepared for it, or at least know about it. Really, if you're not using it yourself, I would 100% come up with a counter to this deck. And again, Lysander Labs and Faba both take care of Spell Tag, but not even in the best way possible. It's really busted card. And last but not least, we have Beast Energy Prism Star. So we did not forget about the Ultra Beast Pokemon, much like Martial Arts Dojo did. Beast Energy, when it's attached to an Ultra Beast, it provides a complete rainbow energy of any type that you need. And does an extra 30 damage. So in past season, we've had Buzzwole do a lot of extra damage with Beast Energy Prism Star, and even in my Bocephalon GX decks, I've played Beast Energy to an extra 30. I'm assuming we'll still see some success with Ultra Beast Pokemon, and Beast Energy Prism Star is usually a staple in all of those decks. So I totally recommend, if you're building an Ultra Beast deck, look for this card because it will help you do some extra damage to hit some of those knockouts. So that's what our list is today, peeps. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helped go over some of the cards that we have for damage modifiers in this new format. I know that categorizing these cards has really helped me come up with some concepts building decks in our post-rotation metagame. So if you're looking for a card to do extra damage, it's on this list. If it's not on this list, let me know in the comments below. So that being said, if you like this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to our Rare Candy TCG channel to hear more from me and the rest of the people on the YouTube channel. If you want to help out our channel even a little bit more, consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/rarecandytcg. To become a patron there, be really helpful towards our channel to make some better content, to kind of up everything that we want. We do put a lot of effort into these videos, and I hope that you appreciate what we have going on here. That being said, I'm Zach Lesage signing off. You can follow me on my personal Twitter, zlesage Pokemon, to follow me on my Pokemon journey as I try to become one of the best players in the game, playing the game. This past season, I finished 7th in the world overall throughout the season, and I'm really trying to make a huge push at Worlds. So look out for some more stuff from me on there. But until then, we're Rare Candy. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.